Why do UFOs keep crashing? Well, George Knapp dives into that subject in his latest news piece, so let's talk about it. Get in here, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, this is really interesting because in the video I did this morning, I shared with you Jon Stewart's information that George Knapp's next project involved UFO crash retrievals. Well, he wasn't wrong because that is indeed exactly what has been on George's mind, and his latest piece talks about that. There's also an article to go along with it. Now, I'm not going to play the whole video, read the whole article, but it is really interesting to consider why UFOs keep crashing. Some UFOs are found intact and some are crashed, like in Roswell. The best answer I've gotten on that is from Dolly Saffron, the experiencer interviewed by Preston Dennett and heavily researched by Preston Dennett, and they've done multiple shows together. She says the Earth's unstable electromagnetic field interferes with the UFOs, and that's why they keep on crashing. To me, that's the best explanation I've heard. Obviously, we shoot at them and we can actually bring them down with various pieces of technology, and sometimes they seem to shoot at each other and bring each other down. But sometimes they just go down on their own. Anyway, let's see what George has to say.
April 18, 1962, an unknown object entered Earth's atmosphere over Cuba, traveled up the East Coast, then made an abrupt 45-degree left turn at New York. It blazed across the heart of the U.S., was pursued by military jets, which could not keep up, then landed in a small town in Utah where it knocked out electricity, locals said, before taking off again. Somewhere over east-central Nevada, it exploded in a massive fireball seen all over the West.
Because it's a fantastic case involving not a few hundred witnesses, thousands of witnesses saw this thing as it traveled across the United States.
According to an Air Force intelligence report, one military pilot who chased the object thought it was structured, not just a fireball, and that it was gasping and sputtering as it flew. The Air Force's infamous Project Blue Book explained it away as a meteor, despite its highly unusual maneuvers. In the early 2000s, Las Vegas was the annual host to a UFO crash conference where the best-known investigators shared information about dozens of similar incidents. Ryan Wood was the conference organizer and wrote a book listing more than 70 possible UFO crashes.
The best cases are ones where we've had multiple witnesses, some physical evidence, multiple investigations by a variety of people over a long period of time.
Wood admits some of the tales might be disinformation or made up.
It seems inconceivable to me that this hyper-advanced technology came 1 trillion miles to crash in our backyard. Once. Let alone this stuff keeps falling down.
If these are advanced craft from another galaxy or dimension or century, why would they crash here? Astrophysicist Dr. Jacques Vallée thinks an odd object that crashed in New Mexico in 1945 was knocked out of the sky by the Trinity atomic test.
But you don't hoax, a flying avocado weighing 5 tons that's going to hit a communication tower, take it out of communication, and then land under power and essentially create an avenue the size of a football field under power, And I mean, what kind of hoax is that?
Well, there you go. There's one theory about why they crash, possibly atomic testing. And if somebody doesn't get a meme made about you can't hoax a flying avocado, I mean, come on, that is a wasted opportunity right there. Maybe a tattoo. I don't know. Something needs to be done with that phrase. You can't hoax a flying avocado. I love it. I love it. And George goes on in this article, which is basically just a continuation, an expansion on the piece, the video segment. And it goes on to talk about, Bob Lazar and all of that kind of stuff. And it even includes the great quote from Jacques Vallée. And then it goes on to talk about, in 1953, the Nevada test site was subjected to a massive atomic bombardment. The upshot knothole test. Witnesses said they saw multiple UFOs observing the blast. In the same period, across the state line in Arizona, residents of Kingman reported seeing a bizarre aerial ballet involving multiple UFOs, almost as if they were in a dogfight. And I've talked about the Kingman dogfight before. Fascinating case. 3 of the objects reportedly fell from the sky and were then scooped up by military units. Investigator Harry Drew thinks the craft was disrupted by an unusual and highly powerful radar array that was activated in Kingman. So another possibility could be radar, could be atomic testing. Obviously, if they were in a dogfight with each other, that seems to indicate they were hostile with each other. So why couldn't one of them have brought another one down? So another possibility. It goes on to talk about Bob Lazar and Harry Reid and Bob Bigelow and, OSAP, the largest acknowledged UFO program ever funded by the federal government. The DIA contract specified that Bigelow Airspace needed to make special accommodations so it could receive unspecified special materials. OSAP personnel were informed that UFO crashes were real and that exotic technologies had been recovered, though those materials were never delivered. Yeah, and now we know from David Grush that the material that they expected to get or hoped to get was in fact a UFO from Lockheed Martin. Very, very juicy. At least 2 of the key players in OSAP were directly informed about crashed UFOs and where they might be stashed. When they tried to press the issue and asked to see the goods, alarm bells were set off and the program was shut down for good. Harry Reid wasn't the first Nevada senator to have an interest in UFOs and UFO crashes. One of his predecessors, 4-term Senator Howard Cannon, made his own inquiries years earlier. So, very interesting stuff, George. George Knapp researching UFO crashes. I love it. This is an important part of UFO lore, and there are a lot more UFO crashes than the ones we've gone over. For example, the Aztec crash. One of the coolest parts about the Aztec crash is there's actually a plaque commemorating the event. Very interesting. On or about this site, on March 25th, 1948, a spacecraft of unknown origins crashed or landed on this mesa. It is alleged the Los Alamos radar station in nearby Elizondo, New Mexico, tracked the errant landing to this site. A high-security recovery operation led by the Air Force and 5th Army Division was responsible for the removal of this craft. The recovery operation took approximately 2 weeks, with all the remains being taken to Los Alamos Laboratory for scientific study and evaluation by some of the world's leading scientists. Later, it was rumored to have been taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. The recovery of this craft by the U.S. government and military was one of the most secretive recoveries of a spacecraft with origins unknown since the similar recoveries in Roswell, New Mexico 8 months earlier. The spacecraft was approximately 100 feet in diameter and 18 feet tall. It was one of the most intact crafts that the government had recovered at that time. Sadly, all occupants, as many as 16, died as a result of this crash, making the full disclosure of both purpose and origin all but impossible. This plaque has been placed here to bring awareness to an event that has been kept secret for 59 years and is a significant part of our nation's history. Another great example of a known UFO crash. But of course, there are many others. Here's an entire book by Kevin Randall, A History of UFO Crashes, documented proof of UFO visits to Earth. Here's an episode of Ancient Aliens where they have a segment talking about the top 3 UFO crash sites. And of course, all of those are just talking about some of the most famous examples, but there are lots of little known examples as well. For example, this 1941 crash near Cape Girardeau.
Everyone was told, do not talk about this. This is a matter of national security. It didn't happen.
So did or did it not happen? Let's start with what Smith, born in Cape Girardeau, found out during his years of research.
Getting hard evidence for this has been like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. It's very frustrating.
He tells me the crash allegedly happened late April 1941. From what Smith uncovered, he says the UFO went down in a field possibly near this one, somewhere west of the Cape Girardeau airport between Cape and Chaffee. His main source for the crash details, the granddaughter of this man, Pastor William G. Huffman. She says someone asked her grandfather to come to the scene to pray for the victims of a plane crash.
When he got there, he got the shock of his life. There was no cylindrical airplane with wings or propellers. There was a round silver disc that was broken open. And there was debris, metallic shards in the field that had set fire to the field.
Here's a sketch Pastor Huffman's granddaughter drew of a picture Smith says she saw of the alleged 3 victims.
One of them was apparently still alive, still breathing, as Reverend Huffman knelt over this creature. And they were about 3.5 to 4 feet tall, your typical grays, as we would call them today, with big black eyes and long, thin arms and legs. And the creature expired in front of him.
Smith tells me the U.S. military...
Yeah, so there you go. Then the U.S. military came in and covered it all up and seized all the materials, as they do. That's just what's been going on for forever, for decades and decades. Near 100 years, if not before. It's possible this has been going on all the way back, since 1899 or thereabouts, or if not even earlier than that. So, yeah, how far back does it go? And it was in the early 1900s that the remains of the giants all mysteriously vanished and was covered up. You would have a giant skeleton at the Smithsonian that would go missing, and the Smithsonian says, oh, well, the reason we removed it is because it was a hoax made of gelatin. A 9 or 10 foot tall giant made of gelatin, which is used to fill in little missing gaps in a fossil, not to construct a 9 or 10 foot tall being. So just a whole bunch of BS by the Smithsonian, and that seems to be around that time when the cover-up really began in the late 1800s and early 1900s. When this our modern cover-up that is still continuing with a brutal force, brainwashing hundreds of millions, if not billions of people, began. And and it's still ongoing. And it's interesting that a lot of these crashes began, or that we've gone over today, occurred in the 40s and 50s. Are there fewer crashes going on now? I would love to know an answer to that. Was it newly developed radar that was causing these crashes, or atomic testing that was causing these crashes, if indeed that was the peak of UFO crashes? Or are they just as prevalent today as they were back then? Clearly, there are modern examples of that. Lance Corporal Weigand and others have talked about more recent UFO crashes. So, obviously they're ongoing. However, in that case, that was a shoot down. So, we know the reason for that one and other shoot downs, obviously. So, let me know your theories on that and why you think UFOs keep crashing in the first place. So, if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Facebook and Twitter links are below. And if you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Also, channel members frequently get to see videos hours ahead of everybody else. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.